Welcome back to another episode of the Randy Wilson Podcast. This is episode 59, and we have a phenomenal guest today with us, the Mayor of Petersburg, the Honorable Sam Parham. How you doing, sir?
Doing good, Randy. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man, and it's such an honor to have you on our show today. Really excited about it. I want to thank my good friend, Miss India Miles, for helping segue the introduction for us to be able to have this conversation today. Before we get into the business, though, I want to take care of a few little things and make sure that for all the listeners out there that's tuning in to the Randy Wilson Podcast, that you hit that subscribe button, hit the notification button, get familiar with Virginia's #1 podcast for bringing you hip hop culture and dialogue. Very intentional conversation. The questions are always intentional with a goal and a focus of trying to impact change, improve our community, and ultimately just uplift the society so that we can bring the next generation of youth through. And whether I'm talking to artists or I'm talking to political figures, everyone who comes on this podcast is a change maker. So I hope that you enjoy our conversation, and I hope you enjoy getting familiar with the platform. But today we're going to get more familiar with Petersburg, Virginia, which Mayor Parham, is an area that I've been putting a lot of focus on lately. More so, it's a lot of phenomenal creatives in the community of Petersburg that have provided a lot of inspiration for me to want to get familiar with what is it on the turf that inspires them. And just doing the history of, looking at the history of Petersburg, has a very rich history. There's so many people who are nationally and worldly successful that came from the city of Petersburg. I know that you mentioned yourself that you was born and raised in Petersburg. So I know that, Moses Malone and Blair Underwood, those names probably, strike a bell. I forget the guy's name that was on his wife was on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's an actor couple.
Yes, Daphne Reed, the Reeds.
Yeah, the Reed family.
We're here. We have, don't forget our Frank Mason, who's in the NBA. We have Quentin Spain playing for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yep.
And a whole list of celebrities from Ricky Hunley to Mark West to Joseph Cotton, who was a famous actor at the time, to the Jerome Mathises, to the Kendall Langfords.
There's a current Boston Celtic there. I forget the guy's a Celtic. He played for. I saw it on the news yesterday.
Yes.
I forget his name.
Yes.
I don't know if you know Lee Major, but Lee Major is a music producer from Petersburg who's got platinum, recording records with the likes of Jay-Z and Rick Ross, and obviously Trey Songz is from Petersburg. And
that's right.
There's a lot of young people right now on the ground in Petersburg who are really beginning to get a lot of people's attention. And so, but at the end of the day, you're the mayor of Petersburg, and what's such an honor. Did you ever think growing up as a young man that you'd be the mayor of Petersburg?
You know what? Honestly, Randy, I always dreamed as a kid that I always wanted to serve on city council in Petersburg. Because some of what you said, our city has such a rich history and rich African American history. We've always been known for a lot of the battles of the Revolutionary War and Civil War. Petersburg was always the center of activity for the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I was always amazed because I'm a big history fan, and always was intrigued with our rich history that was here. And part of what I'm doing as mayor is getting out to tell the story of Petersburg, to get people to come out and check out our city, which is it's a wonderful city. We have a tremendous amount of activity here now, and we're growing and have a lot of people that's excited about being here in the city of Petersburg. So to answer your question, Randy, look, I always wanted to be on council. Didn't know whether I would have the time or not, or the opportunity to be mayor. And I just got elected to another term as mayor a couple weeks ago at our January 5th. Thank you. Organizational meeting. So if anyone know anything about council, like I got selected mayor on a unanimous vote, and it's hard to get a unanimous vote on anything dealing with a council form of government. Yeah. So I'm really grateful for my colleagues for their faith in my ability, and for believing and having the right leadership to move the city of Petersburg forward, because It's a very special place, and we have a tremendous amount of things that's going on. And with a lot of the activity that's going on in Richmond in the past decade, a lot of those developers are looking now down in Petersburg, being that Richmond has gotten quite expensive, and is not as many opportunities for development that are reasonable. So we are happy to be the next thing to the city of Richmond, and and we have really deep ties together. My conversations with LeVar Stoney is that when Richmond is doing good, Petersburg always capitalize off of that too, just because of proximity. Mm-hmm. That from Petersburg, you can get to Richmond from Petersburg in 22 minutes, which on any given day, and it's harder to get from deep in Henrico to Richmond in 22 minutes. So mm-hmm. So we definitely have the convenience factor, and having that proximity. We really are excited about what the future holds for both of our areas.
Okay, so I got a question for you. Two questions, just because I know before the interview you mentioned that you went to VCU. Did you ever consider going to Virginia State right there in your backyard?
You know what, Randy? I came from Petersburg, and if one thing about Petersburg High School, proud Crimson Wave graduate, but over half of my class went to Virginia State, Randy, and I kind of wanted to see something new.
I got it.
So therefore, everything we did, I marched in the band and all those things at Petersburg High. Look, the songs we played was always Virginia State songs. The cheerleaders always did remakes of Virginia State cheers.
Yeah.
So love Virginia State, but also enjoyed my time in Richmond too, to get a change up and a change of pace. So it was a lot of fun.
Understood. I'm not originally. I've been in Richmond since 2003. I'm not originally a Virginian, but it's home now for sure. But I've always just found it interesting with Petersburg. You got when I look at the surrounding area, Colonial Heights, Chester, Hopewell, Prince George, Ettrick. To me, it all seems like it's like the same. It's not the same. Don't get me wrong. No, it's right. It's not the same. There's some. I know there's some differences because I have an office in Colonial Heights. Okay.
Yes.
And sometimes I think people wish that we'd go on to Petersburg because of the population that I serve, having extreme challenges. The Colonial Heights community, I don't know that they're always as receptive to our the accommodations that we're required to provide. We're trying to keep people off the street. We're trying to keep people out of jail, and we're trying to keep people at the hospital. That means they need to have a place to go. So they got to go somewhere. I think a lot of them would. Don't y'all go to Petersburg with that mess? But anyway, but just share with me from your growing up. You grew up in the area. Do you feel like the area needs to be so divided, or do you feel like would there be more impact?
Randy, I'm glad you bring that up, because everybody from outside the area feels exactly the way you feel, and it naturally makes sense, okay? Mm-hmm. Because we're all right here together, so close. And part of the challenge of what we had in the Tri-Cities with Petersburg, Hopewell, and Colonial Heights was building the relationships as far as the synergy, because we spent so much time competing against each other and squabbling against one another, not wanting this one to come to that area, that you really saw the explosion of areas like Chesterfield County and Henrico that really capitalized on a lot of the exodus of businesses and housing that ran out to the suburbs. Part now, Randy, that whole relationship was really strained. You might as well say 15 years ago. Everyone was in silos, and but now with the relationship I have with the mayor of Colonial Heights, Greg Kachuk was a great guy. You have a new mayor that just took hold down in Hopewell, Patience Bennett. She's a very nice lady, and we have a good working relationship. So in just the last few years, we've all come together, Randy, to understand that we have to market our area together, that one area can't survive without the other, because as a whole, we really all in this together. And that's been the challenge of this area, is that doing everything individually, is no way that a Petersburg can compete against the Chesterfields, have a hard time competing against the Henricos, because they're so massive. And most of our shops, whether in Hopewell, Colonial Heights, Petersburg, we have one person that's doing like things like economic development, competing against a staff of 12 to 15 people in Chesterfield who are out there recruiting, at the same time. So we've come together with a lot of our regional cooperations that we have now, and we are working together to eliminate those blurred lines that have been an issue with the Tri-City area. And Randy, I'm gonna be honest with you, even with Virginia State, I mean, I was in a position where we really had to build back our relationship with the university.
Well, that was actually my next question. I went to Virginia State. I spent some time there. Didn't finish there, but I spent a couple of years there in grad school. It took me a while to get through grad school and trying to work a few jobs. It was a challenge. I've heard the rumors of, I don't know if they're rumors or they're facts. There's conversation at minimum. There's been times where they wanted to change the name, the University of Virginia of Ettrick. I think there's been these challenges between Virginia State partially being in Petersburg and partially being in Chesterfield County, if I'm correct, right?
Right.
I'm really just asking I'm ignorant in knowing better. Like, what is that like when you have a school that's split on two different grounds? And like, what comes with having, I guess, some oversight or some involvement with that? Because I'm sure Chesterfield wants his money, and I'm sure Chesterfield wants that crop money, because I think Virginia State has one of the best, if I understand, agricultural programs.
Yes.
And if you look at Virginia Tech, there's probably some correlation, because I think they have a great program too. So to me, it only makes sense in regard to why you may want the University of Virginia because there's different dollars, I'm assuming, that come in play in comparison to the HBCU. Can you just give me some knowledge about that?
You are right on, Randy. And that's something that went on really in the 80s and 90s. It was kind of that tug of war. Mm-hmm. And on the Petersburg front, the political leadership at the time in the 80s and 90s had strained relationships with the university. And at the time, like you said, it gravitated more towards the Chesterfield side rather than the Petersburg side. Mm-hmm. But like I said earlier, it's been about building new relationships and being that we have new energy and new leadership on the Petersburg side. And we got a new president over there, and Dr. Makola Abdullah, who is, he's a fabulous guy. And he's a champion of Petersburg. He lives in Petersburg, actually in my ward. So needless to say, he's one of my constituents, and he encouraged all of his faculty to live where? Not in Chesterfield, but in Petersburg. Okay. So we have a tremendous amount of faculty here, and we do a lot of things together. And it's not rare to see him and his wife walking down Sycamore Street in Petersburg, from going to restaurants and out to eat, and really have that interaction with our community. So we at a point now that we're building on that relationship, because part of Petersburg, we want to be known as that college town. And you've heard the struggles between the Virginia State kids. I know in your time, Randy, going to Colonial Heights and not feeling like they could be comfortable and do what they want to do in Colonial Heights and getting stopped. But Petersburg has always been the real home of Virginia State University. We have more graduates here, I think, than in the other locality. So at this time, we're just working on building the relationships and creating the environment and creating that college town atmosphere that we really need. Because even with the homecoming parade, Randy, that starts in Petersburg. Yeah. Then we end up in Ettrick. Yeah. So it's things like that Dr. Abdullah is definitely growing and using his resources here in the city. Even when it comes to the kids going back to school, Dr. Abdullah brings the basketball team, the baseball teams, the woo-woos, everybody to welcome the kids back to school. So we have all Virginia State here at each elementary school and at the middle school and high school to welcome the kids back, and everybody love it. So he's really deep rooted here, and is big on assisting our schools, because predominantly a lot of our teachers are young, and most of them come fresh out of Virginia State. So we just have to continue to grow that relationship. And I think the biggest thing has been on the Petersburg end, which is growing our industry and development here to accommodate keeping a lot of our talent here from Virginia State that settled in Petersburg, and because we don't want to be status quo, what it used to be back in the day, the same when it was when I was in school 25 years ago. So working with Dr. Abdullah in Virginia State is real important in growing not just the university, but also the city of Petersburg as well, because we're so intertwined, Randy. You know, when you go out of town, whether you go to DC or New York, you say Petersburg, they say, oh yeah, Virginia State, you know, or they say Virginia State, what, you know, they don't say Chesterfield, they say what? Oh, this Petersburg, right?
Yeah.
So we want to live up to that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man. I would be remiss, and no problem being dropping a shameless plug, but if you could help me in developing a relationship with Dr. Abdullah, I would love to have him on as a guest. And quite frankly, I've done a lot of lecturing and speaking engagements at Virginia State, and I've just not ever had the pleasure to meet him. And I'd like to have that opportunity, because I'd like to have more engagement in his life.
Oh, absolutely. And he is definitely he is something special. And what he's done here with Virginia State, I know you saw in the news, Randy, he just got that $30 million from Ms. Bezos of Amazon. So we text each other that day when he got that money. He was on cloud nine. He said, "Man, you know I'm doing great." You know, sure picking up that type of money. So.
He's been blessed, and
yes, he has. Yes,
and I feel really good about what he's going to do with that. You know,
absolutely.
And I mean, they've done a phenomenal job also with diversifying through the school. I mean, they're able, you know, I think they're able to even provide. I guess it would be minority scholarships now to white students. I mean, I've seen a lot of enhancement in Virginia State University, and so. Yeah, I give my hat off to Virginia State. I enjoyed my time when I was there, and I do a lot of work over there with Jonathan Young in the business development program, and I have some great student interns over there. So
excellent.
But got a few questions here that particularly that I thought about when thinking about Petersburg. Since we're talking about schools, we're talking about Virginia State University, and you referenced schools. I'm curious, has the pandemic represented an opportunity to expand options for parents, such as the St. Joseph School in downtown Petersburg? I'm curious, like, what you see as mayor now, because I'm assuming you guys are doing virtual learning. And, you know, I'm doing virtual learning with my son right now also. And, you know, you're seeing the pros and cons. And I think for my son, some of the pros are that there's less distractions. Some of the cons is that dad's not a teacher, and no one can teach. I mean, it's hard to work at home and teach your kid at the same time. It's hard to do both of them well. I know my stress level sometimes it's just like, it's tough. But there's a lot of parents in that same predicament, and even worse, because some parents are, you know, some kids are kind of being required to self-educate themselves to some degree. So just curious a little bit about what you see, you know, from a school standpoint as it pertains to the options that parents have been given or are possibly going to use. And just to add on top of that, that's been one of, I can't speak for facts, but I know stereotypes. There's been one of the most negative stigmas that I've heard about Petersburg in my 17 years in the area. It's been the school system.
Right. And it's been a struggle, but what COVID has done, it has helped add that extra option to learning, and I think it's going to really benefit us in the city, because I know Petersburg schools, you know, we have our challenges, and with our young people not having the opportunities that they need but this pandemic did help us through the CARES money get laptops and notebooks to every student in the Petersburg schools, along with a bunch of hotspots. A lot of our students didn't have internet access, but due to COVID, now they have internet access that they can run their device and go to school. So I think in the future, it's going to be a option that we're going to continue to have. And I'm doing just like you, Randy. Look, I have my daughter here too, and my wife is at work most of the time. We're doing the day, and I do a lot of my meetings in Zoom. So I'm in a room and she's in a room, and and I've enjoyed the relationship that we've had, having her spending that much time with her. But we still have the hiccups with the fact too, Randy. I'm not a teacher either. So
I'm glad you've enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I hate it. I mean,
so a lot of times she's not trying to. She's like, "No, Daddy, I'll wait till Mommy get home," type thing to help me with it. So it's been good, but like you said, it's a sacrifice. But I think in terms what we fought in Petersburg, Randy, just to lay it all on the table, is we've been doing pretty good on the elementary school level, okay? And the challenge that we've had is, I've had neighbors come and move to Petersburg, they buy their dream house, they get married, next thing you know, they have a kid, all right, see how things go. They have the second kid, and they'll start them out in elementary school and hope that things gonna get better on their middle school level, because for so many years that middle school level has been our it's been our real challenge, because middle school is hard everywhere.
yes, that's the
So
most
about
difficult.
time, yeah, it's about time when it was time for people to send their kids to middle school. They say, I don't feel comfortable sending them to Peabody. So needless to say, we're moving, because we're not going to pay that extreme level of cost for private school. And St. Joseph's is here too, and that is an option. And my daughter goes to school there, but she's still virtual, because I feel more comfortable with that, even though her school is open. But from what I've been seeing with this whole COVID spikes and things of that nature, and her spending a lot of time with my parents and my wife's parents, who are both in their 70s, we don't want to take any precautions, because we have the high blood pressure, the diabetes, and everything amongst my parents and my wife. So we've been managing to keep her there. But on the school front, I think it is never going to be the same, because to be honest with you, Randy, my daughter says, I like being at home with you, Daddy. I'm not trying to go back to school. I like this virtual thing. So it has its frustrations, and I've managed to supplement that with her going out twice a week to see a tutor, and the tutor really helps give a fresh ear to the school work, and then she's able to get back on. So I think it really revealed, as we know about the disparities in the Black community, and our schools are over 90% African American, and it
Your
is
schools are over what?
over 90%
Okay. Wow.
African American, compared to the city is around 75% African American. Okay, so it really revealed the disparities in income, and the health challenges, the financial challenges that comes with having a pandemic. So we've had several programs to help work with the schools to give them the extra resources to put a lot of our CARES money into things like those hot spots to give every child in Petersburg internet access.
Okay. Commend you guys for what you've done. I think it's amazing. Isn't it amazing what you can do when you have to do it, though?
Yes, it is.
Imagine
yes,
if
it
we were
is.
doing, it's like some of this stuff, I wish that it would have been accessible to us beforehand, but
Yes.
you adjust. One of the beautiful things about Petersburg, you can't drive south on 95 and not go through Petersburg if you're heading to Charlotte or going to Atlanta, and you can't miss Petersburg if you're going north on 95 and you decide to go to Richmond, DC, or New York. I think that's
right.
It's in a great location. So my question is, how do you envision Petersburg capitalizing on its geographic location of being uniquely located where I-85 and I-95 segue?
Right. and how we capitalize on that is we have the problem that we've had by being a older city in Petersburg was addressing our blight issues and getting on council. We really didn't have a strong code and compliance office to really put pressure on property owners that was holding property in Petersburg, living outside of the state. That's been our biggest challenge, was to get people to fix up their properties or sell them, because our real estate market here has been red hot this past year. The average span of houses being on the market in Petersburg has shrunk from less than 30 days now. So we have this huge influx of people that are the retirees and a lot of the military people from Fort Lee that work at the base, along with Virginia State as well, being our huge drivers with that location. So the challenge has been with us is in Petersburg, we were known as a huge manufacturing hub because of having that proximity to 85, 95, 460. We have the only north, south, east, west railroad that you can go anywhere across the country, because we're the halfway point, you might as well say, of the East Coast. And part of something that we've capitalized on that's really big is our golf course out at Dogwood Trace has been named one of the top golf courses in the state of Virginia. Mm-hmm. So we've been marketing ourselves as the destination for everyone to stop at the midway point on their way to South Carolina and Florida. Mm-hmm. We have plenty of people from up New York and New Jersey that come to Petersburg, play golf, shop, eat, and then hop on the road and continue their travel on down to Myrtle Beach and Atlanta and things of that nature. So the challenge has been getting us back in the game, because we've been out for such a long period of time and not really marketing ourselves. So the key is going to be to continue to market, and the fact that you have such huge bargains of real estate here in the city of Petersburg, along with such a rich history. Even though we've been going through the whole COVID-19 challenges, we're still our restaurants down in our Old Town district of Petersburg are still expanding. We did 3 ribbon cuttings last month for 3 new businesses, a wine tasting bar. We had a Sweet Bliss Cafe and Tablin's soul food restaurant. And last week, Crocus Spot. Everyone in Crocus Spot know about Crocus Spot in Richmond. Yeah. But the Crocus Spot in Petersburg just opened up last week in our farmers market building, which is a huge historic structure, and they more than doubled their square footage. And talking to one of my fellow councilmen on Monday of this week, he says he was down there and it was so packed that he felt uncomfortable. So I was like, look, that's a good thing to be opening up with a facility that size. Yeah. And they just have to monitor and continue to space and do the right things for this COVID protocols. But I'm excited to know that they're still doing good, and by them expanding in Petersburg in COVID world, Randy, is really a huge thing. Yeah, it's really major. So yeah,
I was thinking as you was talking there about just how, you're talking about people from the north drive, it had to be that segue. One of the things at Virginia State that surprised me was how many folks from New York and New Jersey came to Virginia State.
Yes,
how Virginia State is such a destination for college students from the north. I found that interesting when I was there.
Right, and with that, Randy, that is something else we've capitalized on too. Is that we have several huge apartment structures that's being redone. One of them is the artist space lofts, which is a $50 million development in the center of downtown. And it's going to have over 260 apartments. And a lot of those will be marketed to a lot of our college kids, because when you come from New York and New Jersey, and a lot of people's parents who had kids that's coming to Virginia State who want to live off campus, and they say, oh, you can get a nice new apartment for $1,000 a month. So yeah, sure, I get you a new place, and you don't have to worry about staying on campus. So we have a lot of college kids, along with our Fort Lee soldiers that are staying in a lot of apartments, and we've had a huge boom. And our apartments rates in Petersburg stay over 90+% filled.
Wow.
So that is led. We have a couple big developments coming up just to maintain that market, and that's really driven by the number of Virginia State kids from New York and New Jersey. They end up staying down here because they realize, man, I get all the amenities here for a G compared to 4,000 up in New York.
Yeah, that keep me too. You know, as long as I've been here, I don't feel like I've got. I mean, I know how to get to where I go, but I just feel like I'm not I'm not as familiar with Petersburg as I should be, considering I've been here as long as I have. Maybe you can show me the spots. Like even when people talk about the different wards, to me, I've always thought it was such a small place that I didn't even realize it was divided into wards. Kind of shows my ignorance.
Yes, it has 7 wards. Yep.
Yeah. As the leader of Petersburg, you set the tone and direction for the city. And what do you want the citizens to know about your passion and efforts to make the city a better place to live, work, and raise a family?
Right. I think what I want everybody to know is that I'm homegrown city of Petersburg, and was raised here, and my family grew up here, and my dad started my family business here back in 1981. So we have the whole story that you can come from Petersburg, you can grow a business here in Petersburg, and you can achieve your piece of the American dream here in the city of Petersburg. And from my standpoint on council, my biggest goal has been to help bring the manufacturing back to the city of Petersburg, because we have a lot of we have a hospital here, we have the restaurants, but the next phase is us bringing good paying jobs back to the city of Petersburg that left us back in the 80s, Randy. And in the 80s, we had a lot of manufacturers here, from Brown and Williamson Tobacco to Titmus Optical, and these jobs were paying $25, $30 an hour back in the 80s. Okay, and then just like with everything else, you had those jobs leave, and a lot of them went overseas. And when the jobs left, in the 80s, Randy, we had that big crack cocaine problem. The drug problem went haywire. The lack of opportunities really sunk the city down, and brought a lot of our real estate down by people just not having the financial ability to achieve a decent life here and provide for their families. So my biggest goal, especially in this next term I have as mayor, is getting that manufacturing back. And we have a great relationship with Ampac Pharmaceuticals, who they reopened our old BI chemical plant that was closed multiple years ago, and they have upgraded that facility, and have worked with a startup out of Richmond called Flow Corporation, and they just got awarded the contract to build the stockpile of national pharmaceutical ingredients, which is going to be produced right here in this Petersburg facility. So we have some big announcements coming up at that site, and my goal is to establish a biotechnical park out on Wagner Road at the Ampac site. And we have another big announcement coming up in the next few weeks that I can't announce because the governor going to make the announcement for me. Okay. So once he make that announcement, it's going to be a pretty large announcement of jobs coming to Petersburg, and it's going to be the game changer to put us back on the map. Because
wow, man. Dang, I'd love to have that dropped on the Randy. I'd cut this video up tonight. I'd leak it tonight. I'd leak it early.
Stay tuned. But that's all because of us of making those relationships and showing people their value in Petersburg. And when Ampac came here, that's something that they looked at, is the fact that they're right here off of 95. They can ship products all up and down the East Coast from Petersburg, and we had a lot of people that worked at the former plant that was eagerly awaiting to go back to work there, and so they was able to get a workforce that was familiar with the pharmaceuticals that were being produced there. So it's going to be a game changer, not just for Petersburg, but it's going to be huge for the nation, because what COVID-19 has revealed is that we were nowhere near prepared to deal with a pandemic, and we were heavily dependent on China and India to provide us our basic ingredients for a lot of the medicines we take, from the Advils, the Tylenols, and all of that stuff. The main ingredients were coming from overseas.
Yeah.
So to bring that back back on the soil of the United States, and have Petersburg chosen as the prime plant. And I can't thank Dr. Malik enough of AMPAC, because he has facilities in Texas and in California. But Dr. Malik promised me that he was going to bring jobs to Petersburg, and he's delivered. And we're eternally grateful for him for selecting the Petersburg site as the prime site for this huge federal contract.
Well, I'm really excited to see these opportunities and growth. And with opportunities and in growth comes money. And
yes,
and that's what's going to bottom line boost the economy and really give Petersburg that that well-deserved facelift that's been striving and continuing to earn for itself. So
yeah.
Congratulations on that. And I know that's got to be a proud moment for you as mayor as well, to kind of be in the driver's seat as these things are changing. You've been there your whole life. You've seen the good and maybe the not so good, but definitely looks like there's a bright future ahead for Petersburg.
Yes, it is.
How can the state become a better partner to the city? Okay, you have Delegate Aird, Senator Morrissey, and Governor Northam. You can call to them, to help out as it pertains to providing resources to the families there. How do you feel that the state legislators can be, not to say that they're not. I'm asking more or less, what is it that they can do at this time? And I guess rallying in constituents as well and using their influence to also continue to help with Petersburg's development.
Right. I mean, exactly. I think that's the number one job that I have as mayor is to keep Petersburg in the forefront at that state level. And I know Governor Northam and I have a good relationship, and I have we work together. He's done some things to help us, but I still have been adamant about the fact that Petersburg had been left behind in the last 30 years. Okay. And when you look at the amount of development that's going on, especially with the county's tremendous growth, and what happened in the 90s in Petersburg, we lost a lot of our retail with the mall closing, which was more jobs on top of the manufacturing in the 80s. And what we learned is that we really didn't have that state support back then. So that goes back 20 years of not having any support. But Governor Northam, Senator Morrissey, I don't mind asking. It's like I tell anybody, what we will not have a lack of not asking for resources down here, because every time I see the governor, it's like, hey governor, what you got for me? I need some help down here in Petersburg, huh? And go on in, I remember us, because we've seen Northern Virginia explode. We've seen that Tidewater area, Norfolk, Hampton, Virginia Beach explode. And I can't tell them enough. Look, we're next, all right? So make sure that you do what's necessary to help us out, because the thing I learned is in being in this office is a lot of the jobs that you get, people don't just walk up to Petersburg City Hall and say, yeah, I want to bring a couple hundred jobs here. A lot of those things come through the state and the Virginia Economic Development Partnership that are talking to companies worldwide about locating to the Commonwealth, and just getting them to come to Petersburg to put us in the equation, just like what you said earlier, Randy, about us being having 85, 95, 460. We have all the roads, railways, everything you need, some water. You can get to our Richmond, to the huge import-export site that we have there to transport products. And we finally have some traction there, and it's long overdue. And I tell them that y'all helping us, but I need a lot more help too. Okay, because we really want to turn this to a boom town.
You got to ask. You have to ask.
Yes.
I'm a big believer of that. I mean, if you don't ask, you won't know, and
Exactly.
that's in anything, and sometimes you won't get.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But Governor Northam and I have a great relationship. Look, he's came down to Petersburg and going to church here with me, and he spent a lot of time here in Petersburg, and he's always pledged his resources to help us out. So I'm happy with what he's done to help us, but I still look forward to even stronger relationship with the Commonwealth.
Petersburg has more churches than any city in the country per square mile, I think.
Per square mile, right.
I mean, if somebody has been praying in Petersburg.
That's right. That's right. We are 22 square mile city, but we have close to 150 churches.
Wow. Well, I tell you, so let's talk about, obviously there's some, there's a strong, I would imagine there's a strong faith-based community in Petersburg. I know there's
Yes, it is.
I know if it's Reverend Diggs, am I saying this? I think it's Reverend Diggs. He has a huge church that has several services, and it's hard for me to imagine how big that church is when there's so many other churches. Makes me wonder how many people show, huh?
That's my church, and that's my pastor too, Reverend Diggs.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's doing a phenomenal job. He's doing a phenomenal job.
Yes, he is.
I hope for those other churches though that y'all paying y'all's tithes, man. I hope you're hard because they keep the churches going. They got, I mean, it's amazing, man. But
right, but Randy, just to chime in on that, in talking to our faith-based community, they have been doing really well during the pandemic, Randy. That is surprising. You're gonna be shocked, but in talking to all of our churches, the larger and smaller ones, giving has been up around 30% during the pandemic. All right, and let me break it down to you, Randy. This is because members have said they don't have to pay to get their hair done, they don't have to pay to get their nails done, they don't have to buy a lot of outfits. So they've been able to give more resources to the church by not going because they have more money from not going out to eat and being around. So the giving has been up, which has been a great thing to hear.
That's a blessing. And look at that's God working right there. That is a blessing. That's a blessing.
Yes, it is.
So as we talk about the church, we talk about the community, which is really big in Petersburg, community and church, obviously. Let's talk about the reality versus the media. Because the media definitely, they definitely do a good job at portraying Petersburg for some of the things that are not, not the most glamorous things. But at the end of the day, as you've mentioned in this conversation, and now we started the conversation just talking about all the successes and highlights of the history of Petersburg. Petersburg has a really great reality at the same time. Yes. Can you help decipher the difference between the media's portrayal of Petersburg, but Petersburg, the reality, the city that you oversee?
Exactly, and what we have in the city of Petersburg is not any different from any major city. And most of Petersburg is a very quiet place. I mean, people enjoy the fact that there's not a lot of traffic. You can get back and forth to your Food Line or your Walmart in 5 minutes, and it's real peaceful. But just like with any other city, we have those areas, and those a lot of them are public housing places. Let's call it what it is. That have the tremendous amount of the gun violence are in those same pockets, those same areas. But the media do portray Petersburg as being a place that we just having shootouts and random shootings everywhere. But over half of our shootings are drug related, and over 70% of the people know who shot them, and most of them are because of we have a conflict resolution issue here in Petersburg. I get mad at you because you said something to my girlfriend, and then I go and shoot you because I'm mad at you for what you said. And knowing that that is not, the right way to handle, issues that we have. So it's really centralized, but I know the media plays it out that Petersburg is the Wild Wild West, and it's very, very far from it. It feels closer to Mayberry than it does the Wild Wild West. But like I said, we have maybe about 3 public housing places where most of those things pop off, and getting our our people to stop killing each other has really been the challenge. And it's like I tell a lot of our seniors and stuff. I can put a police officer on every corner if I could, but if Rakeem has messed up Johnny's money, right? I don't care where Rakeem is, Johnny gonna get him to get payback, and that's what we have. It's a lot of retaliation from being in the from on the street life. And like I said before, Randy, the cure is getting our city to be known as a manufacturing, a working class place where I can get these guys some good paying jobs, and they can look at moving out of the hood into a good job and out of that whole mind state of feeling like I got to hustle to make it. So that's me as a political leader here in the city. I got to do everything I can to show them something different, some new opportunities that haven't been seen here in quite some time. Because in Petersburg, we have some 5 generational poverty here, and it's a shame, and we have to figure out how to change that trajectory, because until we solve that issue, we're not going to solve the problems we have with the schools. We're not going to solve the problems with the gun violence. It's all directly correlated together. And I think now is the time that that we're coming up with different opportunities, especially with policing. Our police have been really out in the community doing things to build those relationships, to get through to our young people, to tell them that, look, gun violence is not the cure-all.
Mm. A couple of things that stood out there. On the funny side, you mentioned Mayberry. I actually grew up about 30 minutes south of Mayberry.
Yeah.
I actually know, like, when you go to Mayberry, it's the town of Andy Griffin. I mean, and everything with it. But that's just a random. But you said a lot of things there. I think one of the things that we got to do as leaders in our community is that we have to, yes, we need, I'm sure as mayor, when you're out in other cities and conferences and things, you're doing your work and trying to bring businesses to the city of Petersburg and, make Petersburg an attractive place for people to see that they can flourish. But to the citizens of Petersburg, we got to teach our kids and our youth that they also can create for themselves
exactly
their own opportunities by being entrepreneurs and becoming self-employed. And I want to emphasize this to the young people who are paying attention. You can create your own business, and it doesn't have to be a t-shirt. You can create your own business, and it doesn't have to be, like, we need to see more young people create opportunities to be doctors or attorneys or teachers, and be in business for themselves, create your own school. I feel like there's nothing wrong with creating clothing. Don't get me wrong. I wear a lot of clothes that a lot of people create, but we have to have bigger goals and bigger visions of that, because quite frankly, if I look in my closet and I done bought everybody's t-shirt that's, hit me up the Cash App or Venmo, after a while, it's like, dang, what if I wanted some, some black owned maple syrup or some cereal, or what if I need to find a farmer because I want to buy, my crops homegrown, local, or something like. Who do I go to? There ain't no options because everyone's out here making t-shirts. So
exactly.
But we got to encourage them.
Right, and Randy, and just what you said, and it comes from exposure, and the challenge that we have, and especially by you and I being black males, is that our young people now are not seeing those examples. So, case in point, getting into schools. I know I go in when school is in session. I go in and visit and talk to our trouble kids, the ones that's acting up in class. So
Yeah.
we'll get them all together in the class and kind of find out, hey, why you don't want to do the schoolwork? What's going on with you? Come on, look, I want to talk to you and find out what's going on. And you realize that 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 our youth, especially our young Black men, need to see more of us, Randy, who are out here in the entrepreneur role because they just haven't seen it. And like I said, when you have that 5 layers of people on public assistance and families on public assistance, you kind of create that culture that this is all that we can do. Mm-hmm. And it starts, so just like when I'm doing things out in the in industry and trying to draw industry, I still have to be visible to our young people here to let them know to keep dreaming, to keep reading, keep exploring, and show them that Petersburg, this is just the beginning of you being able to go or be anything you want to be inside this world. And look at the examples that we have of the long history of men and women from Petersburg that have made tremendous history in this world, not just in the country, but for some reason we had gotten so far away from talking about ourselves and those examples and what we have to do in Petersburg, that our kids, they may not have it at home, but once they get to school, we got to go out there, we got to love them. I mean, we got to encourage them and show them that support, and just tell them that just because you're in this situation right now, that this doesn't have to chart what your future is going to look like.
Yeah.
And
appreciate you sharing that.
Yes.
That needs to reach someone. I'll echo that with this. And it's in a kind of segue to how we close. One of the things that I try to pride myself in doing with this podcast, again, I call it Virginia's #1 podcast, not #2, not #3, #1. Virginia's, and why I say #1 is because I want it to be #1. I want to speak it into existence. I want people to see with me that I have an ability to talk to all people. I can talk to the mayor of Petersburg. I can talk to the young man in Petersburg who may not have nothing together right now. He may be perceived as a thug. He may be, whatever the case is. The point I'm making is that I can talk to all people, and that we as a community have to be at a place where we can all talk with each other. That's what community is about. And I try to streamline it on my podcast to reach an audience who desires to listen and engage, to see that as a model. That this guy talks to all these different people, and he might talk to this one about this, or he might talk to that one about that, but he has an ability to do that. And that to me should not be something. I think that's rare for a lot of people these days, but it don't need to be. No, it don't need to be. We and a lot of it starts with us as people being approachable and being willing to engage and support our fellow person, because if we're focused on community, and we recognize that what we do is never about us, it's about others, it's about the children coming up, it's about our future, then we just got to do the work, and in return, the results will come. Okay. I have a thought though for you. I know that right before the interview technically isn't out yet. Okay. I've just pre-recorded. These shows are pre-recorded. But I interviewed the guy right before you, who's an artist from Petersburg. His name is Fresh Porter. Okay. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with him or not, but I was very intentional. Okay. I interviewed Fresh Porter as this hip hop artist who I'm telling you he has national eyes on him. Okay. Which is bringing attention to Petersburg. And so I thought, let me do this, and then I'm gonna get Petersburg's attention. They're gonna be paying to young people. They love him. Okay. Then I'm gonna bring the mayor in.
Yes.
So now I'm gonna get their attention to now listen to what the mayor has to say, because they may not be as inclined. They're like, oh, he's interviewing the mayor today. I don't want to talk about it. No, you listen to this conversation. Now listen to this one. And I've been very intentional with that. Right. What I think we got a challenge in our community, and I'm gonna kind of wrap it up here, but I think we got a challenge because a lot of these young guys, young women, young people, period, who have a natural, accessible ability to connect with young people, and they are examples. They're examples to them. I feel like they could benefit by people such as yourself or Dr. How you say Abdullah?
Abdullah, yes.
Dr. Abdullah. I think if we have a combination of who the children want to see, okay? Because it ain't y'all, Tip. I mean, they respect you, but it ain't y'all. They want to see these young, they want to see the Frank Masons, the young, they want to get close to. If we could have a combination of bringing all these figures and leaders together, but put these young people on the front line and get them to model an example to the children about why guns is, what they need to do with guns, and teach them that they need to, there is value in the police. You know what I'm saying? There is value in the police. We're in a place right now where defunding the police is a popular term, or we don't need police. But no, there's value in the police. You just said that over 90% of the population in the school system in Petersburg is Black, correct?
Right.
That means that over 90% of the issues that are reported to the city, to the police department, are probably related to Black kids. Yes. We know that it's more than 90%.
That's right.
And so I just think that would be a beautiful thing if we could have that come together, because we all need mentorship.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure you probably even have a mentor. Everybody needs somebody. And I think that's what would help change the next generation.
And you're correct, Randy. And that's something that I really champion here. Getting back to something we talked about earlier. Like I've spent a lot of time with Trey Songz last year, being he had the pandemic, he's been back home.
Yeah.
And he did the Feed Your City Challenge and was in Richmond and everything. Yeah. But Trey is always around and gives back. That's not something he does every blue moon.
Yeah.
He stays in Petersburg, giving back, giving to our youth, along with Quentin Spain, that he comes back and do a huge football camp for my kids, get a couple hundred kids out for his week-long camp. Frank Mason does the same thing. He comes back from the NBA in the off season and give back, because I agree with you. It's going to take, they don't want to see me, me being 45, I'm the old head now. So it's going to take those young guys getting through, showing that they care. And I'm just happy to be able to give them the platform, whether it's in facilities or any type of assistance from the city, to support them in their efforts to help our youth, because that's the future. And that's why we do what we do, Randy. We got to help get our young men and women to a good place. And hopefully once we get old, somebody will say, you know what, you was okay. And I look, and thank you for your encouragement. And you made a difference in my life. And that's really all we want to do. And it's necessary more so now than ever.
I'm recognizing, I'm right behind you. I'm not too far from you. Okay. I'm just recognizing like that, regardless of what I think, a lot of people see, I mean, I'm 39 and I'm realizing I'm starting to sound old. To a lot of things I say, they don't want to hear. You know what I'm saying? Like you ask me if I like your music and I can't understand it now. I can't understand it. I hear it. I don't know what it means though. It's like, I'm getting to that place where it's a little bit of a disconnect, but I'm very intentional at trying to at least lend my ears. So teach me what I don't know so I can understand, so I can get with it, because I recognize that the young people are the future, and they dictate the direction of where we're going.
Randy, and they're gonna take care of us one day. So
I hope
needless to say, look, we have our time that we have to pass the torch on to them. So we want to make sure we've done everything we could to prepare them. Yeah, so they can be successful.
That's why I want them to create some businesses other than selling these T-shirts all the time. You ain't gonna be able to take care of us off that income. You got to do more, okay?
Yeah.
Mayor Parham, it's been a pleasure. Before we close, I'm gonna ask you 5 random questions with what I don't want you to, think too much, just impulsive. I know this, you're a politician, so this should not be hard for you, okay? I just want you to top of the head with an answer, okay?
Yeah.
Nothing crazy. They typically the same questions. It's just a way to get the audience familiar with things that they may not know so much about you. Okay.
Got you.
All right. It's a pandemic. You're from Petersburg, so I know good and well you was raised probably with some pig and some bacon, some hog jaws, some pork, pig feet. You was raised in a time where, we
Right.
eat what we want to eat. All right.
Exactly.
But now we in this modern day where it's like vegan and vegetarian. Have you made any like cultural lifestyle changes to your diet as a result of the pandemic? Are you
Yes, I
vegan now
have.
or
Look,
anything like that?
me and my daughter, we love our bacon, but needless to say, Daddy eats oatmeal every day now. Because sitting around this house, I'm so afraid that all these suits I have to wear that's not going to fit anymore. So needless to say, I had to cut a lot of that out
Yeah.
because I'm not burning as many calories as I used to, and so I had to give up a lot of that. Like the occasional fried pork chop and
Good for you, sir.
bacon. Look, my ribs,
Yeah.
my pork ribs. Hey man,
Good for
I
you.
miss
Good
that.
for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. When you was a young Mayor Parham, a younger one, like I'm talking about that childhood between, well, not child, let's say between 15 and 23, 15 to 25. Okay. Who was your celebrity childhood crush?
Um, um, Lisa, and Cult Jam back in the
Mm-hmm. See, I was nice.
day.
I wasn't talking about the girl from Petersburg High. I didn't want to
Yeah,
get, celebrity
yeah.
though.
Lisa, man. Lisa, used to love
Okay. Are
her.
you a football fan or a basketball fan, or do you like both?
I would say both.
So who's your team in both?
All right.
NBA.
I'm sorry to hear my Steelers went down hard
Yeah.
on Sunday, and then I'm a lifelong Laker fan from
Oh, and
childhood.
we both good on the Lakers. I'm a Laker fan. I'm a
There's
Laker.
magic.
I've been a Laker fan since Magic, and I
Yeah.
can tell you. And I mean, you can put me to the test. I probably could. I might miss a player, but there's not a player that's been on that roster that I can't tell you since '87 for me. That's when I really
Yes.
started like
Yes.
focusing on the Lakers, and I was a guard, so I followed every guard from Magic to Sedell Threatt to Tony Smith. I mean, all of the guards, Michael Cooper,
Yes.
all the way through Van Nessel, and the guard was always my favorite player, and of course, much respect to the late great Kobe Bryant.
Yes,
He's my
indeed.
favorite player ever.
Yes, indeed.
Um, but football, I'm not loyal. I'm not really a football fan. See, I'm one of those fans in football where I knew, I just by the sixth game the NBA is coming in, so I'm watching preseason and FIBA five whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not really, but I'm a Carolina Panther at the end of the day. I'm from North Carolina,
Okay.
so I
Good
support
stuff.
the Panthers. Yeah. In 2021, Petersburg will see its most success in what?
I think it's going to be the most success in jobs ever.
Okay. And I believe that too, because when you shared what you shared about Governor Northam and his announcement, I got a good feeling, and there's some real big news. The Randy Wilson podcast is going to be there at that press conference to cover that material. Okay, so
There we go. Yes, indeed.
Mayor Parham, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for your time. Listen,
Thank you, Randy.
I didn't have to go through any politics to get them on here. It was a simple reach out. They didn't screen my questions. They just, look, man, sure, we'll do it. And Mayor, I really hope that this is just the beginning of a
yes,
long
indeed.
relationship. I hope that you see that I have something to offer to our community, and I can possibly be a supporting contributor to the future of anything in Petersburg, particularly if it has to do with community, mental health, homelessness. I'm a human service individual. And so just anything that allows service to the community, please consider Randy Wilson in those conversations at the table. I think I could bring some value.
Definitely. And Randy, come on down to Petersburg, hang out sometime with us down here in the Burg, okay?
For sure, man. I come
all
in,
right.
I come
in. Soon as all this stuff is over, we got to
Kroger
come hang out, show you Petersburg.
I love that cornbread at the Kroger spot. So you definitely.
That's right. That's right. It's always good. And don't forget, we got the best Kroger spot here in Petersburg. I'm playing with that. I'm putting that on the record.
All right. Hey, for those who are listening, this is the Randy Wilson podcast. You can find this podcast everywhere podcasts are played, except SoundCloud. For some reason, we're having some problems with our SoundCloud distribution, but everywhere podcasts are played, I encourage you to go to the YouTube page, hit the subscribe button so that you can catch this interview and you can catch all the other interviews that are on the Randy Wilson podcast. Learn more at randywilsonpodcast.com. And Mayor Parham, I don't think you're a big social media person, are you? I was looking.
Hey, you know what? I'm look, I do a little bit, but I think I do more looking than I do posting. Don't do a lot of posting, but I'm out there.
Well, be prepared. When I put this out there, I'm gonna put it out there, so you're gonna see it. If there's any places where I can, I can tag you, or if you can help me know how to identify you, just let me know, because I want everybody in Petersburg and the surrounding cities to listen to this conversation, because I think that it not only adds value to Petersburg, but it adds value to the whole region. So
yes, indeed.
Thank you very much. And this is episode 59. The next episode is going to be a very special episode, the 60th episode. I am compiling clips from the first 60 into like a 1 hour. So y'all check that out. And we have a very special guest coming soon. Should I leak it? It's another political figure. Should I leak it?
Go on and leak it, Randy.
Coming very soon to the Randy Wilson podcast, we will have governor candidate Jennifer McClellan talking about her plans in being Virginia's next governor. So stay tuned for that. We're still locking in the date, but that's going to be a real interesting conversation. And you, the people, are going to determine the questions I'm going to ask her. So please feel free to submit your questions to Randy Wilson Podcast anywhere you can find me, and I will take all that in consideration. All right, sir.
All right. Thank you, Randy. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. We'll talk soon.
All right. Bye-bye.